The Competition Commission says that the findings of its investigations into South Africa's fresh produce market should shake up and transform the industry. A final report has been presented to the Trade and Industry Department, highlighting the inflated prices for fruits and vegetables, as well as barriers to entry for small and emerging farmers. The report follows an inquiry established in 2023 after repeated concerns expressed about inefficiencies in the sector, including the anti-competitiveness. The Commission has said that an overhaul of the sector is needed to address the findings. And let's now speak to the Deputy Commissioner, Hardin, Ratshisusu, who's joining us in a studio. Very good morning to you, Deputy Commissioner, and thank you so much for making time for us. Tell us about what necessitated, firstly, this inquiry.
You will recall, and thank you very much for the invitation, you'll recall that we have been observing price increases and fluctuations over time. And this then caused us to have some questions about pricing outcomes in South Africa, in fresh produce in particular, because we have quite vibrant national fresh produce markets. And the expectation is that that system should yield better outcomes for consumers. So we had to probe and see, is it a challenge in the national fresh produce markets? Is it in the value chain? Is it at the retail level? And that's why we probed this. Yeah.
And it seems that there are challenges at every level when it comes to the value chain, even of fresh produce. But where would you say the biggest concern for the Competition Commission was when it comes to what is being noticed with the resale of fresh produce, especially on how it is affecting the end user?
What we have picked up, and you'll know, with an inquiry, obviously, we start without any particular outcomes in mind. It's really a fresh investigation into the sector. What we have picked up is that our national fresh produce markets are not working as efficiently as they should. We have also picked up that the market agents, because what happens in fresh produce markets is that there are agents that trade in those markets. Those agents are engaging in certain practices that, in our view, affect price discovery in those markets. So there is a big concern for us with respect to market agents, particularly with higher levels of concentration as well. We've also looked at the value chain, the transmission of prices from farmer to retail. When we look at it, our assessment is that the formal retail channel, it's a really high-cost channel. So this is why consumers ask. We see a price X from the farmer, but when you go to the retailer, it's probably twice that price. And we have reflected that as a concern. And I think to deal with those issues, you need to stimulate entry in the retail channel. So you don't have to go to a shopping center and only be exposed to one or two options, which is unfortunately the current reality now in South Africa.
Yeah. More or less, what is that markup compared to from farmer up until retailer? What are we looking at?
It's up to, for some products, it's as high as 90%. Right. So, but this is where we had to zoom and assess this, because when you analyze, the net margins in some cases are negative and in some cases are quite low, which tells you that there are some costs that the system produces. There are some costs that are being borne that are passed on to the consumer. But to address that, you are not going to change the whole architecture of retail in South Africa. We think that if you stimulate entry, you have new players coming in, particularly for fresh produce. I think you can see better outcomes. You can then force the established retailers to review their cost models.
Yeah, and I know that the Commission says that when it comes to the market agent commission fees, this was not necessarily something that you're looking into in this particular inquiry, but the competition, the competition tribunal is dealing with some of these allegations. But speak to us about the concern about these particular fees and how these fees inform the exorbitant prices that you and I then pay at a retail store.
There are fees in these markets. So there's a fee that goes to the market managers or the municipalities, which is 5%. So all municipalities are charging 5% for product there. And there is the up to 7.58% that goes to the agent. What we picking up, and which is a concern, is that these market agents are gravitating towards a particular pricing point. And we then are recommending that this commission needs to be regulated by the regulator APEC, because sometimes the larger farmers get lower, they are charged lower commission, but the smaller farmers are being charged higher commission. So that does have an impact, but mostly that commission affects the farmer.
Yeah.
Mostly. But that cost, I think it's a cost that I don't think is a major driver of high prices in South Africa.
And the issue around collusion, is there collusion amongst the retailers? I know that there's an allegation of collusion when it comes to the market agent commission fees, but amongst the retailers, is there anything that was found? Because I remember even during the height of COVID-19, there was a big concern around, for instance, how the ginger prices just shot up. I think the prices of other fresh produce as well, that was quite important, that people were using as medication as well, also just shot up. Have you found anything in relation to that?
With respect to retailers, and our really simple conclusion is that the competition in our view is not as healthy as it should be. But does that not suggest that there is collusion between the retailers? What it means to us is that there is no effective competition, right? So you are not finding a very strong rivalry between the retailers. So if I give you Woolworths or Spar, you can see that there are some pricing points that these retailers are settling on, and there is not that direct rivalry, in some areas. And we cannot link that softening of competition to sort of an arrangement between these retailers, but it's a structural issue. To disrupt that, you need a new entrant, so that when you go to your local shopping center, you should be able to find an alternative. Right now, there is no alternative. You are only faced with the two or three retailers per channel.
A quick final one. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, and this is with regards to transformation in the sector. There was the NFPM back in 2006. It made a few recommendations. And then there was another inquiry as well. I think this one was I can't remember the date around it, but it also dealt with this issue around transformation in the sector and saying that the fresh produce market is a competence of the municipality. How then do we deal with that particular issue to ensure that there is transformation, that we get more small players, especially black players, into the fresh produce market?
This is a very important point, because you're right. It's a question that has been asked for years now, and we are not seeing the outcomes, because most of these inquiries that were happening could not make binding recommendations or remedial actions. And the difference with this current inquiry is that these issues are going to be placed before Parliament, and there will be deliberations on this, and we expect outcomes. But the pace of transformation in South Africa is quite slow in this space. The large farmers are still dominating the space.
Hopefully we're able to have that conversation when this matter goes to Parliament as well. Thank you so much for making time for us.